2 people die every second. Roughly 2 people. By the time I'm finished speaking, today 3,600 people will have left this world to go into eternity. I usually speak for like a half hour. Can you imagine that 3,600 people will have left this world to go face God by the time I'm done speaking? It's not a matter of opinion, and it's not a matter of feelings. It's a matter of fact. Sometime your second is going to come, and mine's going to come. And that's something that we have to face, something we have to think about, something we have to realize is going to come a lot sooner than we think. Do you remember when you were 18? How quickly that went by. For some of the more mature disciples of Christ in the room, 1 minute I was 18 and now I'm 54, and it went by in a blink. Next time I look in the mirror, I'm going to be 80, and I'm going to be getting ready to leave this world. Brothers and sisters, we're all in the same boat. Some people say, well, this doesn't make me feel good, and to face the fact that I'm going to die and I'm going to be going sooner than I think I am. Well, we're not here to make people feel good. We're not in the feel-good business. We're in the facing reality business. Listen to what the Scriptures say. And the Scriptures are replete with this truth. Psalm 103, for as man, his days are like grass, he flourishes like the flower of the field, for the wind passes over it, and it's gone, and its place is known no more. Psalm 90, you turn man to destruction and say, return, O children of men. You carry them away like a flood, they're like asleep. In the morning they're like grass which grows up, and in the morning it flourishes and grows up, and in the evening it's cut down and withers. For all our days have passed away in your wrath. We finish our years like a sigh. The days of our life are 70 years, and if by reason of strength they're 80 years. Yet their boast is only labor and sorrow, for it is soon cut off and we fly away. So teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Do you know what the average lifespan of a man in the United States is today? 75, 76 years old. That was just a piece of luck that the psalmist said 70, and if you're strong you get 80. And look at the facts that we see today, 75, 76 years old. Life is short. We have to realize that. And how quickly our lives will be over. We tend to think that we're going to be here on this planet for a long time. It feels like life on this planet is going to be a long time. But it's not how quickly it will be over for you and I. But how did I miss the fact that we, as we sit here today, are hurtling towards eternity? How did I miss that on a day-to-day basis? How do I feel to grasp that I'm standing and you're standing on the precipice of entering into the presence of God? We stand on the edge today of going into eternity. And how do we not grasp that? Well, for me, I get fixated on things of this life. Worries about the kids, their needs, bills need to be paid, car needs to be fixed, house needs to be fixed, health needs to be better, retirement needs to be fixed. All of these things are things that I dwell upon, and you may dwell upon too. But on your deathbed, what will all the fretting look like then? All the things that needed fixed, all the bills that needed paid, all the worries of what might have happened in the future, on your deathbed, they're all gone. They're all gone. It's all meaningless when you realize that you're getting ready to depart this world. I first met Bill Raydell. He was standing on the corner of Putnam, Connecticut, with an American flag and a Gadsden flag by himself, protesting something that the government was doing. And I drove by and I thought, he seems like an interesting man. I have to meet him. He was there by himself in the heart of communist Connecticut with an American flag and a Gadsden flag, protesting something the government was doing. So I ended up again talking to Bill. Turns out he's an ex-military, very cut and dry kind of guy, very organized, very passionate, a patriot. And we ended up worshiping together for a number of years. He would come over with his wife and worship with us in Putnam, and got to know them as a couple. They're now since have moved to Alabama, I think. I remember when Bill's mother died, I went to the hospital and we prayed with the family, and then we had to clean the house out. So we went back to the house and that following week and started removing his mother's possessions from the house, and this was going to this one, and this person was receiving this, and this was going to the Goodwill. And I remember walking up the stairs with Bill, and I was carrying some stuff, and he was carrying some things, and he turned around to me and he said, "Someday everyone's going to be rooting through all of my stuff, isn't that right?" I said, "You're right, Bill." See, Bill had a lot of stuff. Bill was well prepared in all different areas of life. Firearms, finances, tools. He had everything a man could want. But on that day, he realized and grasped the temporary nature of life. He grasped his own mortality. And he was grasping the futility of material possessions. The fact that he could take nothing with him. And that is the fact. Someday you will die, and I will die. And the day after, or the week after that, they'll be picking through your stuff. And that which is to be kept will be kept, and the rest is going to Goodwill. That's just the way it is. It's interesting that Solomon understood the futility of a life focused on this present world system. He wrote in Ecclesiastes, he said this, "I, the preacher, have been king over Israel and Jerusalem, and have applied my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under the heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. I have seen everything that is done under the sun. Behold, all is vanity and striving after the wind." This is Ecclesiastes 1. Verse 16, he says, "I said in my heart, I have acquired great wisdom, surpassing all over Jerusalem before me, and my heart has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge, and I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly, and I perceived that this is all but a striving after the wind." He goes on in chapter 2 in verse 9 to say this, "So I became great, and I surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem. Also my wisdom remained with me, and whatever my eyes desired, I didn't keep it from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure in all in my toil, and this was my reward for all of my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had expended to do it, and behold, all was vanity and striving after the wind, and there was nothing to be gained under the sun." My problem is I get fixated on the things of this life. Worries about the kids, their needs, about the bills being paid, about the car being fixed and the house being fixed, about my health and my retirement needs. And Solomon says, I've lived and had it all. And it was a striving after the wind. It was all empty. All of it. Boy, the wind can pick up in South Dakota. No one told me that before I came here. They said the winters get cold. Nobody told me that with the wind chill you can get down to minus 50. Just didn't mention that part of it. But even if it's not minus 50, that wind blows hard. And times it can blow cold. What are we going to do about it? I was thinking about it the other day. I've decided I'm going to start a new hobby. I'm going to try to get some people to join me. It's called chasing after the wind. I'm going to chase the wind all around Belfast, South Dakota. See if I can catch up with it. Maybe I'll even get a scorecard for when I do. That would give the locals something to talk about, right? That crazy Irish guy chasing after the wind. Yet that's what this whole town and region is doing. Chasing after the wind. Chasing after money. Chasing after materials. Chasing after land and houses and businesses. Chasing after sex, drugs, rock and roll, political power, whatever pleasures they're seeking, and they're all a whole town and a whole region chasing after the wind. That's what Solomon said. And that's the facts. They think we're crazy for giving up everything for Jesus. Look at them. Running after emptiness. That's what they're doing. While we find everything in Jesus. Elon Musk is 52 years old. I'm 54. I thought I'll compare my finances with him the other day. And I realized that old Elon is doing pretty good for himself when it comes to money. He's done well for himself. And I don't begrudge it. Because every dollar, every thing of value comes from God. And he's decided Elon's getting it. Do you know if you turned Elon's net worth into $100 bills? Now listen to this. If you took all of his net worth and put it into $100 bills, it would weigh 220 tons in currency. 220 tons of $100 bills. Do you know the Statue of Liberty weighs 225 tons? Just 5 tons heavier than what Elon's net worth is. 220 tons of $100 bills. You'd have to have a huge wallet. You'd have to be gigantic. How could you even move it? It would be a task to get his money from one place to another. You'd need fleets of trucks to move there. Do you know how much Elon's taken with him when his second comes? Nothing. Not one red cent. When Elon's second comes. And it's coming. He leaves this world with the same amount of money that the kid that works at the Burger King has. They're all equal in the end. I think it's like a divine joke. Our Father does have a sense of humor. And in the end, we all leave with nothing. Life is short, and you're taking nothing with you. That might not be a great feeling for you, but we don't deal in feelings, we deal in facts. Because Christ deals in facts and not feelings. Listen, Matthew 6:19 through 24, or we'll just go through to 21. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. See, laying up for yourself treasure in heaven isn't a spiritual layaway scheme. It's not a get baptized, go to church, read your Bible, do good works, make deposits in the spiritual bank account. That's not what Jesus is talking about here. And all along as you do that, running around like a giant squirrel, trying to find nuts for the Roth IRA at the end of the day, we're not here for that reason. Jesus is talking to us about laying up treasure in heaven. It means to grasp that you're mortal. To grasp that your time here is short. And to grasp the fleeting nature of life and prioritize the eternal. Prioritize the day that you will face the Almighty and you'll leave this world. Your brief 70 or 80 years on the planet, if you even get them, will be over. And you'll stand before God and give an account for the deeds done in the body. Prioritize those things, not the things of this life. Because as Solomon told us, it's all meaningless. It's all a chastening after the wind. And keep in mind, the week after you're dead, you'll be sorting out your stuff, and everything else is going to Goodwill. I haven't seen it in a long time. It's been a very long time. They used to have this act, this stage act that they used to do, and I don't know how did they invent this, but they did. They had these very thin poles, and they'd put a plate up on it, and they'd start to spin it. Remember that one, Bill? They'd start spinning this plate up on a pole, and then they would get another plate and throw it up on a pole, a very thin pole, and they'd start to get that going too, and the plate would stay spinning. And then they'd throw another one up, and then they'd have 10 of them, and the whole deal was to have to keep, they kept all the plates going, and they had all kinds of music or something like that as they did it. Sometimes we live our lives that way, don't we? Got the finances, got to keep the finances going. The marriage, you got to work on the marriage, keep it going. The horses, got to look after the horses, keep that going. My interest over here, my apartment over here, my job over there. Next thing, we're spinning all of these plates, and some of them are necessary. But don't forget this. There's a day coming where they're all going to fall. They're all going to fall. It's all going to be over. And Jesus says this to us. You've got one concern in life. You've only got one plate you need to spin. It's not your health, not your finances, not your kids, not your apartment, not your interests, not your hobbies, not your career path. It's none of it. It's Him. One priority is Him above everything else, because this life is short, and there's a day coming when you're going to depart this world, and you're going to stand before Him, and you're going to have entered into eternity, and everything this side of it, meaningless and nothing. In the supper, Christ brings us back to death. That's one thing Christians get confronted with at the start of every week, is death. People don't want to think about it. We think about it. We think about it every week, and the death that we focus on today is his death. He brings us back to his life. He didn't live for this world. He didn't pursue the wind while he was here. He understood what life was all about. And he understood that he would lay his life down. At 33, do you know how young that was? In his prime, that he, in his life, chose to take that life in its prime and give it all up for you and I on the cross. And in the supper, he brings us back to how this life is so brief and how we're to live it while we're here. We're not to focus on the 70 or 80 years on the planet. We're to lay our lives down as he laid his life down. Because in the end, when this whole thing is summed up, there's a day of judgment coming. And on that day of judgment, there's a question of resurrection and life. And the good news for us is, if we keep our eyes focused on him, we don't get distracted to the right or the left, we turn our back on the temptations of this world, and we follow Jesus, we're going to enter into eternity. And we're going to enter into this immortality, this new heaven and earth that he's bringing. But before we take the supper today, let's remember this: life is short. Don't plan for the temporal, for this time. Plan for the eternal. Because eternity, it's going to be here quicker than you think.